Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's talk about your home. It's probably the biggest, most important purchase you'll ever make, right? But what you might not realize is that underneath it all, there's this incredibly powerful financial engine called a balance sheet. And honestly, if you understand it, it can make you seriously wealthy. But if you get it wrong, well, it can bring you to your knees. So today, we are going to pull back the curtain and see how it all works.
So here's the big question. How can the exact same house make you feel like a genius one year and then completely wipe you out the next? How is that even possible? Believe it or not, the entire answer, the key to this whole mystery is hiding in one surprisingly simple diagram. All right, let's get into it. The moment you buy your house, you create something new. It's secret financial identity, and we call that a balance sheet. Think of it like a financial snapshot in time. And this snapshot is made up of just three key parts that you absolutely need to know. Okay, first up, we have an asset. It's a simple concept, really. An asset is just something you own that has value, something that's going to provide you a benefit down the road. Cash is an asset because you can buy stuff with it. And your house, it's a huge asset because you get the very real benefit of living there. Then, on the other side of the coin, you've got a liability. And this is pretty much the exact opposite. It's money that you owe to someone else. It's an obligation. So that giant loan you got from the bank to buy the house, that's called a mortgage, and it's your biggest liability. It's the debt you have to pay back. And finally, we get to the most exciting part, the one everyone really cares about, equity. This is kind of the magic number. Your equity is what's left over when you subtract what you owe from what you own. It's the part of the house that is truly 100% yours. It's your skin in the game. It's your actual real net worth. Now here's the thing. These three pieces, assets, liabilities, and equity, they aren't just separate ideas. They are locked together by what's basically a law of financial physics, the fundamental accounting equation. And it says your assets will always equal your liabilities plus your equity. This isn't a guideline, it's not a suggestion. It is the unbreakable rule that governs this entire story. So let's make this real. Let's say you buy a house for $1 million. That's your asset, right there on the left. Now you put down $250,000 of your own cash. That's your down payment, and it becomes your starting equity. To cover the rest, you borrow $750,000 from the bank, and that's your liability, your mortgage. And look, it balances perfectly. The $1 million asset on one side equals the $750,000 you owe plus the $250,000 that's yours on the other. Okay, so that's day one. But now let's fast forward a year. The housing market is on fire, prices are soaring, and everyone's feeling great. This, right here, is where we get to see the real magic and, you guessed it, the real danger of the balance sheet. So the market's booming and a house just like yours down the street sells for $1.5 million. All of a sudden, your asset, your house, is now worth $1.5 million. But here is the crucial part. Your liability, that loan from the bank, it hasn't changed one bit. You still only owe the bank that original $750,000. So where did that extra $500,000 of value go? Well, because the equation has to balance, it all flows directly into your equity, which is now exploded from $250,000 to $750,000. Let's just stop and think about that for a second. The value of your house went up by 50%, which is amazing. But your equity, your actual wealth in the home, it didn't just go up by 50%. It went from $250K to $750K. That's a 200% gain. Your net worth in this house just tripled. That is insane. And this incredible effect has a name. It's called leverage. You used a little bit of your own money and a lot of the bank's money to control a huge asset. And because of that, you amplified the return on your personal investment. It's an unbelievably powerful financial tool, but it's also a double-edged sword. Because that very same leverage that makes you feel like a financial genius when the market is going up, well, it works just as powerfully and just as brutally when the market goes down. So now let's imagine the good times have ended and the market turns. Now a housing bust hits. The value of your house plummets to just $700,000. And your liability, well, it's still stuck right there at $750,000. The bank still wants its money back. And because that balance sheet has to balance, that drop in asset value gets ripped straight out of your equity. It wipes out all $250,000 you started with and then keeps going. You now have negative $50,000 of equity.
This is that dreaded situation you hear about. It's called being underwater on your mortgage. It literally means you owe more money on the loan than the house is even worth. If you tried to sell it, you'd have to write the bank a check for $50,000 just to get out of the deal. It's a terrible spot to be in. Now, being underwater isn't just a number on a page. It's not just a bad feeling. It forces you to confront a really difficult, and some would say a very rational question. You're now facing a serious, serious dilemma. I mean, think about it from a purely logical financial perspective. Why would you keep sending checks to the bank every month to pay off a $750,000 debt when the asset you're paying for is only worth $700,000? It feels like you're just throwing money away, and it's a question that economists have been fascinated by for a long time.
Well, there are a few theories. One purely economic model basically says a perfectly rational person would just stop paying and walk away. They'd mail the keys back to the bank. But, real life is always more complicated. A more realistic model is what's called the double trigger theory. It says it usually takes a double whammy. You're not only underwater, but you also suffer some other financial shock, like losing your job, that makes it truly impossible to keep up.
But here's the thing. Whether or not you even consider walking away depends massively on the rules of the game. And those rules are written in the fine print of the mortgage contract you signed. Turns out, not all mortgages are created equal. Not by a long shot. And this is where it gets really interesting. There are basically two types of mortgages. With a recourse loan, if you default, the bank takes your house, and they can come after your other assets to make up the difference. Your savings, your car, even your future wages. But with a non-recourse loan, the lender can only take the collateral, which is the house. They get the keys, and the debt is settled. That's it. It's a huge difference. And this diagram really shows that divide perfectly. With a non-recourse loan, the bank's claim stops right at the house. But with a recourse loan, well, that dotted line you see gets erased, and the lender can reach across that line into your other financial life, your personal savings, your future income, to get their money back. This legal difference really helps explain why things play out so differently around the world. In some parts of the U.S., these non-recourse laws exist as a kind of legacy from the Great Depression, and they're rooted in this cultural idea of giving people a fresh start after taking a risk. But in most of continental Europe, mortgages are almost always full recourse, which comes from a totally different history, a different view of what it means to be insolvent, and they have stronger social safety nets to catch people instead.
So, okay, we've seen the incredible boom, we've seen the painful bust, and we've looked at the complex decision-making around default. But even after all that, we're still left with one final and really fascinating puzzle.
As researchers from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston put it, the biggest mystery here isn't actually why some people default. The real question is why it happens so rarely. Even when people are deep underwater, even when they are in serious financial trouble, the vast, vast majority of them just keep paying the mortgage. And that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. If the cold, hard math of the balance sheet says it's perfectly rational to walk away, but most people don't do it, what else is going on here? What other non-financial forces, things like shame, or a sense of community, or just plain old hope, are powerful enough to make people override the numbers? And that right there is the lingering question.